kid out of the way. He could have been killed. I told this to people to put a face on this story when I went down Morris to tell them. And they were all, first of all, they were all like so glad that the kid was okay. But no one was surprised that this happened. Not one person. They know it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. It could have, I mean, everyone had a story to tell me what they have seen on the street. It's frightening. People are terrified. Parents are petrified. I was just stunned to the degree that everybody talks about it all the time. And many times I didn't bring up the speed bump issue. People brought it to me. They said, well, we've been thinking about speed bumps because they blow through the stop signs. They drive really fast, 40 miles an hour. And they pass people, even on the street. I mean, they pass other cars on the street. They don't care. Having one of these flashing feedback signs, I mentioned that we might get one or two on Morris Boulevard. People just roll their eyes. No one cares about the signs. They just want to get from here to there. They want to avoid Capitol and Oakland, and they just cut through our neighborhood all the time. They don't care. They drive fast, and that's all they care about. So please consider the speed bump option. Other communities have done it, and they've done it successfully. So please know that Morris Boulevard is not safe, and people are pissed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Escobar, 4104 North Larkin. I live right on Larkin and Capitol, and I think the use of the U-turn right there in New Hall and Bartlett is really a smart idea. I think for people who are first time going through and realize they can't make that left-hand turn, you know, they're often in shock. But at least, you know, there's hope on the way. You make your U-turns, and you just make it happen. So I think that is a really valuable one, and especially making people delay another 2 blocks away to Larkin Street. It's just going to back people up the same way anyway. Number two, my thought is on delay of U-turns is if everybody remembers when you're on Port Washington heading south from Bay Shore Mall, you can't make U-turns until you have to wait. And you have to wait. And there's a U-turn, and that gets really frustrating. So that's just a thought. But I think the best education focus would be about honoring crosswalks. Or Capitol and Oakland, people really just want to get running, and that they're just not honoring the crosswalks. And if we can just get everybody a reminder about how important it is, and everybody starts to get used to stopping, and that you can remember to stop, then everybody else will start to remember to stop for pedestrians. Thanks.
Hi, Abby Clark, 3600 North Morris. I know my husband already spoke, but I just want to quickly ask that I wasn't aware that the U-turn thing was a part of the Safe Kids, and again, we're going to have children in the school system soon, so we absolutely, you know, the middle schoolers are always walking through our neighborhood and down to the park, and it's important to us, but I really just ask you that you reconsider thinking about removing or having the U-turn, you know, removed, that the next street is a left turn on our street, on Morris Street, Mendel. And the folks that are already coming east on Capitol, past the Culvers, use that as a cut through all the time. So it's just going to encourage more people to cut through there. And if there's any way that we can start something, I don't know, some way to fundraise or anything to get speed bumps or something addressed in our neighborhood, we obviously would really appreciate it. It's really important to everyone that we were talking to in the last 24 hours. So thank you.
My name is Chris Bamberg. I also live on Morris Boulevard at 4317. And I want to speak kind of from the other side of Capitol because it is a racetrack. Numerous times taking my grandchildren out the way to walk, I've watched people go through that stop sign with the crossing guard there. A couple times damn near killing And my question, I guess, would be, and I apologize for my voice going, would be, rather than a speed box, is there any way to put a traffic cam there so you can identify license plates and ticket people that are speeding, or some combination of that? Because you could probably fund half the stuff on your agenda of all the people that are speeding. And I don't know, that would probably be a question to the attorney, whether we can do that.
I don't, did anyone explore that and the cost of that?
The grant funds won't allow for the speed camera purchase of those. They're pretty limited in what they're gonna fund in terms of environmental changes, and it's signage, the flashing beacons, and the driver feedback signs.
Perhaps something for the future then.
Of course. I just want to say that I don't know how this works mechanically, if this resolution fails, I don't think it's going to pass, but, because we adopted the grant, right? Specifying that we were going to eliminate the U-turn? No?
It's a separate motion.
It's a separate motion. It's not just, this is not the motion just to change the ordinance.
Yeah, this is the motion.
But it's not changing. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to vote no on this ordinance, on the ordinance change at the time. I just really don't feel comfortable with, I know eliminating safety copies for the high school is good. I just don't want to create them more for then the middle school. So until I understand it a little better, and I apologize that we had such a packed agenda, I might not have been able to ask that question ahead of time. I just don't feel comfortable.
Would it be a future item for consideration to direct staff to do some research on the speed bumps? I know it's come up a bunch of times, but I don't know that we ever have put it in my recollection.
Sure.
Or we can just dig out what's been done in the past and just bring it to this point.
Take a look at it.
So is that, I can wait and bring it up under future
Sure.
items? Okay.
Okay, so this is, we gotta move, Mark.
Time to go home.
It's automatic.
Good night, everyone.
We got an expert there.
That's an automatic thing.
Okay, so could you read the motion again, please?
Shut the one back, the lights on.
To adopt ordinance 2080, amending the village code to install and enforce a no U-turn westbound at the intersection of North Newhall Street and East Capitol Drive.
So this is an ordinance, so
Yes.
this will be a roll call vote.
Trustee Bachhorst.
Yes.
Trustee Maher.
No.
Trustee McKay.
Yes.
Trustee Rozick.
No.
Trustee Zobik.
No.
Trustee Amenta.
No.
President Johnson.
Yes.
The motion, let's see, the vote is 3-4.
Against.
Or, yeah, next.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
so this takes us to,
Just to clarify for trustee Rozick's comment, the $100 was part of the plan, we just aren't gonna get to that. So that's $100 that's in the plan, we just want to, I just wanted to clarify that, so, okay?
takes us to item 7, Public Works. First item under there is consideration of design option for reconstruction of Wilson Drive. Trustee Zobik.
thank you, President Johnson. We've had some good discussion in committee prior to this meeting. I think we were all, with the exception of Trustee Maher, who was out of town, at the public information meeting a couple of weeks ago. We got a lot of comments during that public information session, a lot of emails before, and a lot after. And I know that all of you, like I, have been talking to a lot of people about Wilson Drive and about not only the options that are before us, but the real concerns and the criteria that people believe that we should use for for Wilson Drive. And I think what we need to do tonight before we, and I will volunteer a motion to move us forward, but before we do that, two things. I think we'll want to hear from our representatives from GRAFE who have some updated information for us based on their work, based on conversations at the public information meeting, as well as some of the questions that we've given them. Give us a chance to ask additional questions for our GRAFE team, and then hopefully we'll be in a position. Well, yes, at that point we'll be in a position where I will offer a amendment to move the process forward. But before we do that, I would like to make a separate motion. From the very start of our discussion about Wilson Drive reconstruction, there have been a lot of people that have been concerned at various levels about development on the west side. Specifically residential or commercial development along the west side of Wilson Drive. We heard very clearly during all the work of the task force and the open house that the task force convened last winter, as well as just in our day-to-day walking about the village. It is with an abundance of clarity that the residents have told us that there is absolutely no interest, or I should say, there is very little interest in pursuing development on the west side of Capitol Drive. And when I say that, I have to point out that I did make that correction. There are people that are interested in pursuing the development of west side of Wilson Drive, who point out we don't have any additional land. That is a way that we can increase our value of our village. That is a way that we can ensure stability for our schools. But none of those people, as best as I can understand, are sitting at this table here. And so it is for that reason, and so that we can hopefully begin, and I had thought we would have begun a while ago when we made an expression of that disinterest, but hopefully with a more formal action, we can begin to talk about Wilson Drive as a roadway and its amenities, and not as simply saying, I want to take this position with regards to Wilson Drive, purely as a defensive maneuver, purely as a way to ensure that there will be no development. So it's with that in mind, that I make the following motion. That as a clear expression of the village board's commitment to preserving the green space on the west side of Wilson Drive, we direct staff to complete a full and accurate research of the various administrative options available that will allow us to effectively restrict land use to preclude commercial or residential development of the west end of Wilson Drive, and report back to the board for consideration and action as soon as practicable.
Second.
Discussion. Trustee Rosie.
I just want to, we talked about this little committee, so I want to make sure the other board members.
Please use the microphone, we can't hear you.
I apologize. We talked a little bit about this at committee. I know most of you weren't there. Some of the trustees were not able to attend because they were in other committees. Although we've been asking, I would say it was over a year ago, for staff to research exactly what Trustee Zovek just made a motion for, we have not gotten any documentation. So in my last 2 days, I've had to do my own research. I did talk to the planning director for the village of Shorewood and talked about some options for preserving the land in the event that we narrow the roadway, if that's the preferred alternative. Today we found out something that was different from yesterday, from 2 days ago, and basically we're going to investigate that further, but there is the possibility that all of the land adjacent to our Wilson Drive border is parkland, and so all we have to do, one option may be, is vacate the property, vacate the right-of-way. It goes back to Milwaukee County for parkland automatically. So I know that's something that we want to study with Trustee Zovek directing staff to come back. I wish we had known the options earlier. And I did express to the chair of public
Works, so trustee Zobek, that I would like to delay the decision on the roadway until we have the information about both the land and the road, which we've been planning for. With that, I really support trustee Zobek's recommendation and proposed motion, but again, only with the intent of not making a decision tonight.
I don't know how to account for this, but I actually did receive the information that you said you asked for because I brought up these options and asked staff to research it. It was last year after the open house, and I was actually encouraged to my recall, trustee Amenta, and seconded by trustee Rozek, to allow the Wilson Drive Task Force to complete their work and for, to not take action at that time. So I don't know how to account for that difference in recollection, but I just want to offer that. It doesn't matter because I think